Yo,
It's Cass and Chris.
we got you in the mix. Yeah. We say goodbye to the gloominess and the rain. Bright-eyed pupils when we peep the waves.
Yep.
Until we get sipping our local IPA.
That's a good shout out right there. They know what we're talking about here. Because this week, we're getting into local IPAs. That's this whole episode. Well, besides, we're going to have some banter back and forth here at the beginning because there's some things we got to go over. But this is the origin story of the craft beer scene right here in San Diego coming up till now. So that song nailed it. Local IPAs. I love that thing bumping too. I need to put it. I wish I had my old 67 Lincoln Continental with the system in there. Put this thing in there. Very short song, but it's a jam.
For sure. You can just have it on repeat.
Yeah.
We do that on accident sometimes in our car.
Yeah.
So,
or throw on the full version and then that we have, but not the best. But welcome back, my friends. Another edition of the Livin in San Diego podcast. We talk all things about San Diego. Super excited. This one is, we're recording at 11:34 on a Tuesday. It'll come out Thursday, but Cassie did mention something. Since it's a beer episode, we probably should have had a beer, but
yeah,
he's pretty upset about me.
That's a miss.
Next time. Well, I'm sure we'll have a few more. We'll have our beer guru on at some point again. He's always good. He's always a good intel into what's going on in the beer scene here in San Diego. Today's going to be more the story of all the OGs going through the 2000s coming to today. So I think we've sampled most of them. So
Probably.
we should have some intel on all of them or most of them and give a little insight into the new ones that we're digging. So
Nice.
it'll be good. But first, most importantly, how was the weekend?
It was good. Yeah. We haven't done a weekend check-in in a while, but
Yeah. Figure we do a little weekend check-in at the beginning, right?
yeah. Saturday we had a lot of baseball on all fronts, but the boys teams both won. So it was a fun Saturday morning / afternoon. Cam got his first walk-off hit of his baseball career.
Nice.
Which seems shocking since he's been playing for so long, but
They're not easy.
they're not. Yeah, they're not easy, and it was super fun. Teammates poured water all over him, and it was rad. And then we went up to Anaheim and watched the Giants, San Francisco Giants, play the, I'm just going to call them the Anaheim Angels.
The Los Angeles
Angels
of Anaheim from Southern California.
Yeah. There's
playing
nothing
in
even
Irvine.
about Los Angeles about Anaheim. So
Yeah.
It's not in the county. It's not in the
We
city.
should probably dive into that on one episode, even though they're not San Diego, but
That's
we'll
right.
have a baseball player on.
Yep.
Tell us the insight into that.
So we got to watch the one win the Giants had against the Angels over the weekend, which was great.
Yeah.
And then had Easter, so visited with family and did all that stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. Easter Sunday, always good. Hang out with the fam. What do we do? Oh, my little nephew turned 21, so we went over to his house on Saturday. Got to hang out. He was like counting beers on his how many beers, how many shots, having a good time. So, and then we left, and the wife was like, "Oh, he's gonna feel bad tomorrow morning." I said, "No, he's a youngster, dude. He'll be fine." And so
He'll bounce back.
the next day at my folks' house, how you feeling, Tanner? Good. Whatever. Maybe a little tired. That's it.
Yeah.
The good old days, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't. We don't bounce back quite as well as we used to.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
To catch up.
It does.
It kind of couple days sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. Got to slow it down in our older age, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we can just talk about beer all the time.
That's right.
Yeah, Saturday, not a good sports day for San Diego. Lost baseball, lost San Diego FC.
Oh, yeah.
We'll report back. That'll be next week's. We got to explore when we're down there. Check out the stadium, give the full intel into Snapdragon,
Yep.
tailgating, restaurants, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be next because we're both going to the game. So
And I think it is like Kids Day or something like that. I think there's, I don't know if they get to go down on the field, the pitch, whatever you want to call it.
okay.
I don't know details, but we had just heard that as an option.
All right. Hoping for a W. They got blown out 3-0. By the time I turned it on, it was 10 minutes in. I was like, oh, FC's on. Oh, we're down by 1. That's not good.
In soccer, because that could be the score.
Yeah. Ended up, and then we went to Tanner's house or my sister's house. And by the time I just checked it the next day, it was 3-0. 3-0. But nonetheless, Padres top of the NL West, tied with the Dodgers.
Tied to the Dodgers, yeah.
But they're at the top. So in this what I'm looking at, the poll.
On the MLB standings, it shows them the Dodgers at the top. So
Yeah,
you picked the right one.
2 weeks ago, Padres were top of the charts for power rankings, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
They were Padres 1, Dodgers 2. So anyways, got to keep up this pace. It's a long season. So Dodgers 16-7 as well. Gigantes 15-8. Diamondbacks fallen, man, 13-9.
They've scored more runs than every team in the National League West.
Diamondbacks?
Yeah, which is insane. Only 4 more than the Giants, but we all have we're beating the Dodgers in the run scored category. Yeah. So yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah, even the Diamondbacks only 2.5 back.
It's gonna be tight all the way until it's not.
Yeah. How many teams can make the playoffs?
I have no clue anymore. So I know
because you got the division winners, obviously, and then the wild cards. Is there 3 or 2
or 4?
4?
I don't know, because there's like that short series now to then play. So the top, I don't know. I think the top 2 teams get a bye. 2 get a bye, yeah. And so maybe there's only 2 wild cards.
Okay,
I think that's what it is. The other 2 division players play the 2 wild cards. Or is there a 1-game series? It's changed so much.
No, there's
over
a
the
3-game series and then a 5-game, and then they go into
so maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, 3-game series are a little too short, but nonetheless, looking forward to that. We're just setting up our.
We're like 5 months away.
Yeah, we're just setting up our Padre. I think we're going in July as well. So get down there, give you the full rundown on that. But let's talk beer. And real quick, shout out to Grandpa Bob. It just reminded me on my cord here. It says Roland, which was his real name.
Oh yeah,
passed away last.
Is Bob short
last
for
week.
Roland? Or Roland short?
No, that was his middle name.
Oh, okay.
Roland Robert.
Got it.
Goes by Bob. So good old Bobaho. Rest in peace, my friend. He had a good run. I think he was 89. So yeah. But good old Raleigh. He went by Raleigh as well. So some of his buddies knew him as Raleigh. So that's a good name right there.
I was just, and this could be a whole rant for the whole episode, but I was just listening to my morning show and they were talking about somebody just did a big study. I can't remember what magazine the article came out on, that young people, some people from like 10 to 18 now, they don't use nicknames. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, none of Camden's friends, well, he goes by Cam, but that's not even a nickname. But he doesn't, it's a shorten, but none of them have nicknames. And like I even threw one out to him the other day. We have a new kid that's going to be on his all-star team and his club team. His name's Rex. And then Chelsea and I just have this funny thing from Christmas with the Cranks where the butcher's name is Rex the butcher. So I said, Cam, this is a perfect opportunity. Rex's nickname could be Butcher. And he's like, no, I don't think so.
Not going to happen.
He's like, I don't want to explain that.
We don't do that.
But young people, so for whatever reason, they don't do nicknames anymore. Like how many of your friends did you call by like their last name?
Or, a lot.
Yeah. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Coop. We had Coop. That's the only one that's on top of my head right
now.
now.
I saw Joshua yesterday.
Yeah.
Armio.
Yep. Harms.
Did he have a Harms? Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. What'd you go by? What'd you have?
Cass mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a crazy. I did have
CDO.
That's just my dad, my brother. But yeah, I was the boss for a while and it was just the 4 of us and I was the only one that would make a decision. So they'd call me the boss.
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to make the decision.
30 years later, still making all the decisions.
He's the boss. So. All right. Let's jump into beer.
We know yours.
What's that?
We know yours.
Which was it?
Wolf.
It was funny. We were in and put in quotation marks, a gang.
See, ours was too. A gang.
Yeah. But I was Wolf Spider, so that was the origin of that. Shout out to Jeremy Pecoraro. He was one of my members as well.
Wolf Spider, that's funny.
Yeah. I don't know how whatever.
So why did you howl?
I don't know. And then it just progressed over the years, and that's what it was.
That's funny.
I had a few. My uncle used to call me Gus. So then when I order food now,
or Starbucks, yeah.
Starbucks, anything, yeah. Gus, because one time I was standing there and there's 1,000 Chris's, and I don't know, 2 or 3 Chris's got ordered in front of me. And then the next time I did it, I put in Gus. Julie's like, why do you put in Gus? It's like, there's so many Chris's. And the next line was Chris. I was like, see? Told you. No, Gus. There's very few Gus's out there. So, and my uncle used to call me Gus. So there we go. I don't have my belt buckle on today that says Gus, but I do have a Gus belt buckle. Nice, one of those, the old, I don't know, brass. Yeah, not bronze, brass. All right, let's get into beer. Capital of craft right here in San Diego. It's become known, but it wasn't always known. Neither was anywhere, but we've had some big hitters in here. So I'm going to read you a little intro here. Let's call it chapter 1. Trying to find out where I could put my
I was
my
just going to
phone.
say, look at Chris. Let's just all stare at Chris.
Trying to put my phone up here. So, all right.
I need a teleprompter for you.
This is a story here. Imagine San Diego in the mid 1980s, known for its sunshine and surf, but not its suds. Nowhere was, but in fact, by 1986, the city hadn't seen a fresh beer since Prohibition. The local beer scene was a barren desert dominated by generic national lagers, aka, I don't even know if Coors Light was a thing back then. That was like, it used to be Coors.
It was just Coors.
Budweiser.
Just the banquet beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're like Coors Light, and your friends would make fun of you because you're drinking a Coors Light. You're like, so lame, dude. This is the story of how San Diego transformed from craft beer no man's land into a world-renowned craft beer capital. We'll journey from the humble pioneers who lit the spark through the explosive growth of hobby breweries that put San Diego on the map and into the modern era of beer tourism and global recognition. So the early days setting the stage. It's like the late 80s. We're going like 80s to 90s, all right? San Diego's beer scene is practically non-existent. After Prohibition, which ended in 1933, no local breweries had sprung up for over 5 decades. The home brewing hobby was gaining steam nationally, helped by legalization in 1978. But brew pubs were a novelty in California. In 1982, state law began to allow brew pub restaurants, opening the doors for entrepreneurs to make and sell their own beer on site, which is funny because later on, how we have, back in the day, you needed a restaurant with your beer, but we'll get to that story here in a little bit. But they had to pass a law to allow just the tap rooms, which helped explode what we know as a brewery / tap room now, where they might have some
like food trucks and
trucks now, but they don't necessarily have a kitchen, right?
Yeah.
1989, the pioneer, enter Karl Strauss Brewing. I should have asked you, do you know who that was?
Karl Strauss.
On February 2nd, 1989, cousins Chris Kramer and Matt Ratner, no Carl, with the mentorship of master brewer Karl M. Strauss, opened a brew pub in downtown San Diego. For the first time in modern memory, San Diego's can enjoy locally brewed craft beer. This brewery's debut featuring Karl's traditional recipes like, do you remember the OG beer?
Red Trolley?
Yep. It was an amber lager, later known as Red Trolley. I'm assuming for the Red Trolleys in downtown San Diego.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they had trolleys back in 1989.
Yeah.
Did they?
I would assume so.
I'm assuming that's where they got the name.
It would be really weird if they didn't.
Yeah, maybe they could have been before the Red Trolley, right?
No.
All right.
Yeah, they invented the beer before they put the red trolleys in. They were green trolleys, actually.
They were the inspiration. Karl Strauss Brewing was an instant hit, proving that San Diego's thirst for fresh, flavorful beer had been there all along. It earned Karl Strauss the fitting nickname, the Godfather of San Diego beer, and ignited a movement. So early 90s, you had a slow build. In the wake of Karl Strauss, a few more of the brew pubs and breweries began to sprout up. Home brewers were pivotal in this period. Go over to your buddy's house, grab a beer.
Yeah.
Your pops ever brew?
No.
He seemed like he would be a brewer at some point.
I had a neighbor that was pretty legit at it.
Yeah. Did you get free beer?
Yeah, from time to time.
Nice. At your current home?
Yep. He's gone now, though.
What flavors was he whipping up?
He did a lot of stuff. But I mean, it was the heyday of IPAs, so like a lot of IPAs.
Yeah.
He did some darker stuff, but he had a pretty good system. He had one of those big orange coolers, so he'd put it in a kegerator pretty instantly instead of put it in bottles, and it's cool. Like he put it in a little pony
straight
keg.
from there to, yeah, that's the way to do it. So
turns out,
yeah, I brewed. I think I got a brewing kit. It was many years ago, but it was just a 1 gallon brewing kit. So, and the amount of work like that it took just to get
Same here.
that beer, but it was super fun. So you put it in, then you're like, okay, I made beer. Now it's got to ferment for whatever. I forget how long it actually sits. Put it in a closet, I had the capping machine and the bottles, and I'd save, and you have to sanitize them all, like,
Mhm.
you know, the green flash bottles. I mentioned that in the past, or back during earlier times, the 22 bombers have a bunch of those.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think out of a gallon, I'd get a 6-pack and maybe 122. It was cool,
Yeah.
but it always had that craft beer. Now, if there's like a new brewer around, I could kind of
Taste the
see the, like, their, you know, some of the established boys, they're like, dude, you can't I mean, it's delicious beer. Some of the newer ones, you're like, or they're experimenting with beers.
Mhm.
You're like, that a little home brewy.
Yeah.
You can taste the little, I don't know.
It's the cleaning for. So I talked to somebody after I made mine because I only did it once. Picked a horrible time. I didn't realize I had to do the whole process all in one thing. So I
Taking your
got started,
time.
and then all of a sudden, and Chelsea was like 7 months pregnant, so like the smells in the house wasn't
Oh,
the
yeah.
ideal
Not great.
situation. But mine just tasted like the cleaning solution,
Oh.
and I was talking to I think it was one of the brewers for Stumblefoot after, and kind of just say, well, hey, what did I do wrong? And he's like, what did you use to clean it with? And I said, what came in the kit? And he's like, yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
No, I think iodine, I think, is what he suggest, or what I think. I don't know if the brewers still use that, but I guess it doesn't have as much taste as like the chlorine based ones.
Yeah,
So-
mine was whatever it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that kind of flavor. It was more like a malty, because, you know, all the stuff, it's not filtered, so it settles at the
Mhm.
bottom. Because I'm sure when you're putting it in the keg, you could filter it out, because
he had a filter on the cap itself,
Yeah.
like where the spout.
because you can't filter it when you're putting it in a bottle. You just have to pour it in, because you need all the sugars or you need the yeast to eat the sugars to turn into alcohol.
Mhm.
So you have to leave whatever's in there. Like, I mean, it's not all the junk in there. A lot of it settles, you know, as you're fermenting, but it was, still a lot of that kind of at the bottom. So a slow build. So Homebrew Mart opened in 1992. I believe they were there. Are they still there? Down Linda Vista off like Moreno.
By USD.
I think it was one of the, it was, if it's the same one, like Ballast Point had a little spot in there.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still there, but it was by USD.
A little store. Oh, here we go. A little store that soon incubate one of San Diego's most famous breweries. More on that soon. Meanwhile, in coastal Solana Beach, that's crazy that this place has been around this long.
Mm-hmm.
A popular pizza joint named Pizza Port started brewing its own beer in 1992, turning a Surfside pizzeria into a beloved brew pub. Founders Vince and Gina Marsaglia served hoppy pale ales and malty ambers alongside pizza, planting the seeds for what would become a local brew empire. Mid-1990s, here's the new kids on the block. This is when we started getting some of the ones that are still around. I guess Pizza Port's still around.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, not going anywhere, I don't think.
no. How many do they have now? They have
So once
Bresci, downtown Carlsbad, Solana,
I think there's one in San Clemente too, isn't there?
potentially.
I think up there. What happened with the Lost Abbey tasting
Oh,
room?
they are, yeah.
That isn't that?
Yeah,
it's
they
Portland
are.
too?
They do have,
I drove past that the other day.
pretty sure they have it as a tasting room now, but yeah, I believe they took that one up too. So we'll talk about that in a sec. The new kids on the block, mid-90s. By mid-1990, the momentum picked up. AleSmith Brewing Company opened in 1995, focusing on quality ales like the now famous Speedway Stout. When I just went to Brewer's Tap Room the other day, I said, yeah, let me get some to go. Give me a mixed bag of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Give me like two IPAs, a hazy, and a stout. One of them was AleSmith Speedway Stout. Had some coconut in there, maybe. It was delicious. And catered to beer connoisseurs on a tiny scale. But 1996 proved a landmark year, a pivot point when several of San Diego's most influential breweries were also born. Do you know who else was born in 1996? Breweries.
Stone
Brewing. 1996 by Greg Koch and Steve Wagner. The two friends, a musician and a former homebrewer, were unsatisfied with mass market beer and dreamed of bold, flavorful alternatives. They set up shop in a nondescript warehouse in San Marcos.
same spot. Yeah.
Yeah, where they were there. They went to Escondido. Lost Abbey came in for a long time.
Long time. Yeah.
And then Port Brewing was out of there too.
Yep.
Same, but different.
Owners, yeah.
It's kind of, yeah. Is Port still going?
I think Pizza Port bought it.
Oh, they bought that. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Because it was kind
All
of,
the beers were the same anyway.
I think they were, yeah, I
Like
think
it was
they-
piggyback.
I mean, it had been some connection, right?
Yeah.
I think we've discussed this before, but
Yeah, like I think Shark Attack was the same thing as like Wipeout or something. I mean, I don't actually not those two, but like the IPAs were like almost identical.
Yeah.
For a long time.
yeah, and delicious.
It's so good.
Yeah. On opening, they set up 1996 and started brewing aggressively hopped ales. This is back to Stone. On opening day, April 1996, Stone sold its first keg of beer to none other than the folks at Pizza Port, Solana Beach. Vince, the owner, himself drove up to buy the very first keg of Stone Pale Ale. As with a lot of the breweries, collabs.
Yep.
I said that weird. Collabs
I think it just sounds weird.
are pretty huge. And I mean, Virgin's always collabing. Pizza Port, we've seen a bunch of them. Coronado, like all of them are. You get a lot of the OC beers kind of collabing with them. It's pretty awesome. But this was the early days of collabs.
What about the collab with companies that aren't a beer? Like collab with Salty Crew.
Oh, yeah.
Or collab with a restaurant too. I can't remember.
Yeah,
There's been a couple
think
of those. Like
so.
Board and Brew.
Yeah. I heard a podcast from this dude named Mikey. I forget his last name, but he's a old school skater. He's got a podcast now, but he's been in a few businesses, does real estate, that kind of thing. He interviewed the guy from Black Plague, and they were going through collabing with people, and they had the Nigel Houston, they had the Tony Hawk.
Yep.
And they're like, but it just didn't, they would take a royalty on it, on every sale, but it didn't translate to more sales because it was a Nigel Houston or a Tony Hawk beer. It was just kind of cool to have.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, there was no additional sales, and then you're paying that royalty on top of it. So they actually did just cut those out.
I was just talking with our beer guru the other day about the Cronenworth collab that was just announced. I'm trying to pull it up right now. It's with Harland, and it's called the Crone Zone. Is the new
Crone
beer,
Zone.
and I think so. Like you mentioned, they get like a piece of it, but his piece I think just goes straight to a foundation or some kind of good cause.
Yeah.
So he's not making a profit off of it. He's at least putting it somewhere.
Yeah, and there's been a few more. I mean, 394.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn collab. What else? I know there's been a few more.
Yeah. Those are the only ones I can think of.
Oh, no, Joe.
Oh yeah.
He collabed with somebody as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that was Resident, so they're gone now. So no more Joe.
No. And he's out this season. Dang it. All right. Next brewery. Do you know the next brewery that opened in 1996?
Green Flash?
Negative.
Oh.
Ballast Point.
Oh, okay.
Also got their start in 1996. Remember Homebrew Mart? Yep, that was the one. Its founder, Jack White, along with brewer Yusef Cherney, began brewing back in the back room of the homebrew shop. They named their venture Ballast Point, a nod to the local nautical landmark, and initially offered humble brews like Copper Ale, now the Calico Amber, and a Pale Ale, Yellowtail. Ballast Point was basically born out of San Diego's homebrew culture, a theme that would continue. Yeah, because I think I did go down there to that place.
The Brew Mart
at some point. I don't even know. I think maybe we were on a brewery tour, one of our friends, a bus or something. Because I don't know when else we would have gone down there. But they did have the little tasting room down there. And that's one spot where they did have Sculpin Habanero and Sculpin Jalapeno, which are like IPA with a bunch of spice in it. But it was delicious.
I think Aztec still does that one. I mean, we're going to get there. That's Aztec's way down the line here in your tail. But they still have like the Chipotle Stout or one of those spicy. A bunch of companies do that.
Yeah. Yeah, the habanero was good because you get a little bit of heat. Jalapeno.
Too much flavor.
Yeah, it wasn't a ton, but the habanero was good. You're doing tasters. You're not going to do like a full
pint of it.
Full pint. We're just doing like little 4 ounces, but still, it was good. So little did anyone know that Ballast Point would in time become a powerhouse brand worth $1 billion.
Was it?
At one point.
It was at one point, yeah.
It was. Do you know the third brewery that opened in 1996?
So what do we have so far? AleSmith?
No, we have Stone. We have Ballast. and AleSmith was 1995.
Oh, okay. And it was
It's one of your go-tos.
Coronado?
Coronado.
Oh, cool.
Opened in 1996 as well. Brothers Ron and Rick Chapman established a brew pub on Coronado Island, just across the bay from downtown, serving Islanders and Navy folks house-made ales like Islander IPA, which is a beachy vibe, and English-style ales. Coronado Brewing brought craft beer to yet another pocket of San Diego.
I guess that's why we didn't have it earlier. Like, it took us a little while to get it since we weren't going down to Coronado a ton in the late 90s.
Yeah, it was not as well distributed as it is these days.
Yep.
Where you're always going to get it is you're looking at the beer case, you're going to go, okay, there's a few that you know are always going to be there, are always going to be fresh.
Yep.
Coronado, you're going to have some weekend vibes in there.
100%.
Some sort of Swami's for sure, and then some sort of other pizza port beer. Certain places now you're going to find Bergen.
Yep.
What else? Stone.
Always
there, always pretty darn fresh.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at, the dates underneath, you got to make sure they're fresh. But all right, we're hopping in the late 90s. This is when bold flavors started coming out. This is when they started getting into that IPA theme, the beginning days of where we are now. So in 1997, just a year after opening, Stone unveiled a beer that would become legend, Arrogant Bastard Ale. It's in your face, strong ale is intensely hoppy and unapologetically aggressive. I think it said that on their,
I think so, yeah.
on the back, the full story that they have in there. So they were not going to release it. They didn't think it was way too aggressive, but obviously they introduced in 1997. The initial batch sold out almost immediately. They tapped into a craving for extreme flavor and beer with its brash name and motto, "You're not worthy." Around the same time, Coronado Brewing and Pizza Port were honing hop-forward pale ales and IPAs on their own, and AleSmith was developing rich, strong ales that wowed aficionados. By 1999, San Diego had around a dozen craft breweries. A few less than today, I would say.
Yep.
We've added
a couple.
Many more on top of that. So hopping in the 2000s, these are the days too. I remember, kind of going into the 2000s, coming of age, when did I turn 21? 86. Let's go with 2006, 7?
2007.
That had to be 2007, yeah.
Yeah, it's on, well, no. Because I would have been 83, 93, 2003, 2004.
Oh, I was 82. Why was I thinking 86?
I don't know.
I don't know. I was born in
Donovan.
82, guys. Come on. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, wow. Okay. So now we're getting the 2000s. This is where we're seeing, hop forward beers, brewery expansions, the birth of San Diego's reputation as an IPA paradise. Early 2000s, cultivating the San Diego IPA, San Diego breweries quickly became synonymous with hop innovation. In 2000, Stone introduced Stone IPA. You would think that would have been one of their first, but actually came out after like Arrogant Bastard and how like their smoke porters and kind of all the other stuff that they had. So it was originally an anniversary ale in 1997, then a year-round beer. Obviously, that's probably one of their best sellers still today.
So good.
Yeah, and
See,
now
that
they
would
have
be a good one to have right now.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, a nice nooner. Oh, it's noon. We could do it. So others followed suit. In 2002, Stone went even further, releasing Stone Ruination IPA, one of the first time bottled double IPAs. And these are all like massively bitter and ton of flavor and super hoppy. When you get a Stone beer, it's a Stone beer.
Yes.
For the most
100%.
part. Especially those like when your taste buds were just getting used to flavored beer.
Yeah.
It was quite the kick.
I agree. Yeah. Ruination, that was one of the, that was another anniversary one turned into a regular, because I remember having that. I did the Stone anniversary events a couple times, and I remember that one being people were really excited for.
Ruination.
Yeah.
What were the events?
Just their anniversary events. So like I did 2 or 3 at Cal State San Marcos, and it was a whole ton of breweries. You got either, I think it was wristbands or something, like where they'd pull a tab off or something. But the goal would be to get through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It turned into a limited, I think, the last year we were there, and it was a bad idea.
That's
and so it was
aggressive.
So it was trying to one up your buddies, or I think I went with my dad one time, and Chelsea had to come and rescue us and pick us up. So, but it was good times. I mean, it was a really cool event. I don't know if they still do it at Cal State, or
That's what I was wondering if they do it.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
Went to like
guess
18, 19, and 20, maybe, I think.
I guess maybe since now they are Sapporo.
Yep.
Probably,
Maybe they don't
doing
do it
things a
anymore.
little different, but who knows? I don't know. Seems like they would just kind of keep what they were doing, kind of keep that local vibe, even though they are not craft anymore, right?
Mhm.
Try not to get them too much, but it's an old
Still-
favorite, right? It's an old favorite. I
Great.
did protest once Ballast Point got bought out. I did protest them for a while, so I wasn't getting them till they came back and became back to craft beer,
Yeah.
which they are now. So Stone Ruination, a massively hoppy brew that ruined your palate for other beers, hence Stone Ruination. The San Diego style IPA became a term in craft circles, meaning an IPA that's golden, dry, and exploding with citrusy, piney hops and firm bitterness. Brewers like Green Flash Brewing Company, founded in 2002, embodied this ethos with its aptly named West Coast IPA. One of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Over in Alpine, a rural East County town, a tiny family-run brewery, Alpine, founded in 1999, gained cult status in the early 2000s for its insanely aromatic IPAs like Pure Hoppiness and Nelson. Is Alpine still whipping stuff out?
I don't think so. I haven't seen their stuff in a while.
Because they had
Weren't
some
they a
really
Duet
good stuff.
also?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Maybe I have seen them. Actually, now you mentioned Duet.
But something happened with Alpine and Green Flash.
Yeah.
So that was like I don't remember what the details were, but I'll Google it while we're sitting here.
Okay. San Diego brewers were proving that when it came to hops, bigger was better, and the rest of the craft world took notice. So the 2000s also saw San Diego's breweries expand their operations and open new venues. So in 2004, Carl Strauss began opening additional brew pubs locations around Southern California, bringing its now beloved Red Trolley Ale and other beers to a wider audience. More brew pubs launched, like La Jolla Brew House. I don't think they're there anymore. I think they were. I think I went there when it was La Jolla Brew House, and then it changed over the recently.
Alpine is back, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah, it is still a thing.
Nice. Alpine's back, baby. And OG's Pizza and Brewing, which started in North County, even snagged medals for its beer. But you can't really get them anywhere. Yeah. They're. I don't know. I do.
It still tastes like the home brewing, like you talked about.
Yeah, they do still
Do you
have a
remember
little.
Yeah, it's like the same as for me. It's not there anymore, but San Marcos Brewing was the same thing.
Okay.
Just for me, it just doesn't taste as good as.
Yeah, and you don't get it.
But-
I mean, you're not going to find it distributed. You're not going to find it out and about. You have to go to OG's to have it. So
It's like BJ's.
yeah,
Their beer's okay.
they're more corporate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. Do
Well-
they still have the one up in the mall?
Yeah.
No.
We just went.
Where was that one?
Across the street from the company stores in
Oh,
Carlsbad.
company stores. That's where
Yeah.
it was. Okay.
Yeah, we were just there last weekend for Cam's birthday dinner.
Okay. Yeah, they're.
It's fine.
I don't know. I like OG's every now and again because you can't go there. It's fun. Go to the pizza place.
Yeah.
Do a little arcade action going on. So it's solid. And you're never going to see it in a can, right?
Yeah.
All right. In 2004, Pizza Port. This is little. Now we're starting to get some recognition. The Solana Beach Brew Pub specifically won Small Brew Pub of the Year at the Great American Beer Fest, and the first of many national awards for San Diego breweries. Brewmaster Tommy Arthur of Pizza Port was crafting celebrated Belgian and style beers, and in 2006 he spun off a new venture called Port Brewing / Lost Abbey. Very confusing. Is it Pizza Port from Port Brewing from Pizza Port, but also / Lost Abbey?
I think he did this just to make everybody confused.
Yeah.
I think it just. I don't know him well, but just hearing stories, I feel like he just did it to like
Probably.
be funny.
Yeah, and it worked. There's still, every time I would go to one of their tasting rooms, I'd mostly go towards port.
I'd always, or when they added hop concept.
Oh yeah, the hop
I'd either
concept
do.
was solid.
Yeah.
But now they have Lost Abbey, now they have their own beers as well. But I did get into like every now and again, I would try one of like the Belgian, kind of like the weird beers.
Yeah.
Weird in my, it's not an IPA, it's just different.
Different. Yeah. So that was my first introduction into the first time I ever went to a tasting room was Lost Abbey in San Marcos. Went with a buddy. He's probably listening. Ricardo brought me out, and
What's up, Ricardo?
and we literally got tasters of every single port beer and every single Lost Abbey beer before Hop Concept was a thing or anything. And we just like, he started on one end and we'd like go back and forth, and we polished all those suckers off. And like half the Lost Abbey beers are just, I would never get again. It's just a very, they're very flavorful, not in a hoppy way. They're like a lot of raisin flavor for me.
I think that one of theirs is the raisin. Something rather.
But,
they, not my palate. But they're fun to explore every now and again.
It is it was a fun introduction. And then I don't know how many growlers later, I had gone to a ton of the different breweries.
Are growlers still a thing? Are we still doing that?
I'm not still doing it. It seems like a lot of work, and I would always forget them. So there are like 4, I think, left in our garage, and I think there's one in our studio.
There's one
here.
in the shed.
Yeah. So I've seen them a couple places, but I'm not.
Yeah, no, that had its heyday, but that had its heyday. Then you'd see the
crowlers,
the crowlers, and now it's just everybody just has their beer to go for the most part. You don't see too many growlers out there anymore.
No, I think like the mobile canning things kind of switched things up, like where made it easier for the smaller breweries to get things canned, and not seeing bottles anymore either, except for some of the OGs. Yeah, it's like 90% cans in San Diego, at least.
Yeah. No, cans are, one of our buddies he like does the can printing for, I don't know, a lot of them, but a handful of the local breweries. And they're just, it's easier. You don't have to do stickers. It's just like literally prints it on the can, way cheaper, shipping and stuff, or compared to bottles, just
less breakage.
Less breakage. Yeah. So makes sense, but.
And you can't have bottles everywhere either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to have bottles at softball, Hey, hand me another Pacifico.
Port Brewing / Lost Abbey opened in San Marcos, taking over Stone's original facility, and focus on 2 things: hop-driven beers under the Port label and Belgian-style ales under the Lost Abbey. Their beers like Hop 15, a beefy double IPA, and Cuvée de Tommy, a sour ale, garnered international acclaim, adding depth to the San Diego scene beyond just IPAs. Stone was outgrowing its starter in 2006 and made the big leap. That's when it started in Stone World Bistro in Garden, which is still there. I've been there for a while, but awesome venue out there. If you guys haven't been, go check that out. By late 2000s, the culture around San Diego beer was solidifying in pubs and tasting rooms. One could feel a sense of community. Brewers and regulars mingling, homebrewers swapping tips with the pros. The San Diego Brewers Guild launched its first ever San Diego Beer Week in 2009. It's a little bit more than a week. A 10-day celebration of local beer.
I feel like it jumps like an extra 4 days every
They
year.
just keep extending it. So it was Beer Week's debut, but it's cool because you go around in different places and they have special beers and collabs and
glasses and stuff too.
Yeah. So, and it's not, I'm sure they have it at a central location. Like, don't they have the awards at some point or?
Yeah, I think they do. And I think they choose like a brewery to like host some things. And, but they do have, but that's not at a brewery that they do the awards. I think it's at like a meeting hall or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So they do dozens of events, special tastings, beer dinners, all that kind of stuff. Here's a fun fact. Tech entrepreneurs Mel and Jeff Gordon launched the app Tap Hunter during the first beer week in 2009. Are you aware of that app?
Yeah.
Like,
I used to have it.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah. When I was going to a handful of brewers, I would have it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're experiencing and tasting a bunch of different beers, it would be good to have just to kind of keep track. Oh, I did like that one. I didn't like that, but then it just becomes too much.
But then you just,
I never jumped on.
Yeah. Then you just start knowing the ones like if we go to Notorious, like they always have people.
Yeah.
You can never miss.
Yeah.
So, and I'll always try one also, but if I don't recognize anything,
yeah,
I'll
you
go
know
for
that
it.
you know the hitters that you're going to go with anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah. When in a pinch.
Exactly.
Got your go-tos.
Yeah.
By 2010, San Diego had roughly 30 to 40 craft breweries, small by today's count, but at the time it was among the most of any city in the US. The 2000s ended with San Diego's dominant and hoppy beer, rich in brewing talent and brimming with local pride. It was groundwork for what was to come. So now we're in the 2010s. 2000s planted the seeds. 2010s were the full bloom of San Diego's craft beer scene. This decade saw an unprecedented boom in the number of breweries, proliferation of tasting rooms and beer tourists, big money acquisitions, and that shocked the industry, and eventually some growing pains as the market matured, which we've seen over the past few years as a few places have shut down, been bought out, no more, all that kind of stuff. Some longtime places too that I've seen recently.
And I think it's going to continue.
Yeah. The craft beer boom in the 2010s, San Diego's brewery count exploded. It seemed that every few months, a new brewery or tasting room opened its doors. Aspiring brewers, often home brewers, turned pro, launched small neighborhood-focused breweries across the county from Oceanside to Chula Vista. Nearly every community got its own local brewery. By the end of the mid-2010s, San Diego County was home to over 100 craft breweries and climbing fast. In fact, by late in the decade, the count surpassed 150 breweries. And that's how San Diego got the name, the craft beer capital of America. It said more breweries than any other county in the U.S. for a time, save perhaps Portland or Seattle. So is there some debate? Did they have more? That'd be cool actually to go up there and explore. Yeah. Do a trip up there and then hit a few breweries. Because now when we're taking trips, a lot of times we're going to hit a local brewery at some place. And there's so many, endless breweries that you can go to, but it's just like not planning the trip around it, but always like, what should we do? Let's go grab lunch here, grab a beer at this brewery, just try something new and a new vibe and a new area. We were up in the Bay Area in Oakland and went to like this, dude, I don't know. The Oakland's weird. They're just how they have like this waterfront place. I think it was old military bases, and it's kind of like some parts are built out. So you'll find like a cool restaurant here. The rest of the building is closed off. You'll find like a brewery here with like these old wood beams up top, like awesome space. And you'll find like there's like a distillery here, but everything else, it's kind of like halfway built, halfway torn down. I don't know. It's really weird, but super cool. I loved it. But we went to a brewery out there. Now I forget the name. You would know it too, but it was pretty awesome. So, all right, for beer lovers, the 2010s were paradise. Tasting rooms became a huge part of the culture. Informal tap rooms where you could sample the brewery's offering right where they were made. California law evolved to encourage this. Breweries could pour pints without needing a full restaurant. So obviously San Diego brewers took full advantage, opening cozy tasting rooms with roll-up garage doors, food trucks outside, and atmosphere that invited long afternoons of beer sampling. A whole beer trail emerged. One could spend a day in Miramar, nicknamed Beeramar. Have you heard that one? I haven't heard that. And walk a half a dozen breweries, Ballast Point, AleSmith, Green Flash, a bunch more, or cruise 30th Street in North Park, stopping in a bunch of brew pubs. And then tour companies, like I mentioned, we've been on a few tours kind of similar to the Temecula brewery tour or winery tours, Napa winery tours, all that kind of stuff. So some notable breweries opened in the 2010s. So in 2013, we had Modern Times, was founded in San Diego, which they grew pretty darn quick. They were opening places in like LA. They had like these full on themed breweries, tap rooms, tasting rooms. Do you remember that one in LA? I forget what it was called, but they had like a pool outside.
So that's what I was just going to say. I think that's the one that became Villains Brewery.
Okay. Yeah. You were telling me that.
It's in Anaheim.
Yeah. And it's like, they have not cabanas, but like a full chair set up around the pool, like,
and a full restaurant. Yeah. The whole restaurant's like completely outdoors. There's some coverings and stuff, but it's essentially outdoors other than the brewery and the restaurant and the kitchen and everything.
I'm interested to see. So we're still waiting. I mean, they got Modern Times got bought out by Maui Brewing.
Yep.
But you haven't heard much from that. Like, we don't see more distribution of Maui. We don't see more. I mean, maybe they're doing more Modern Times out there, but
yeah, possibly. And Modern Times in Encinitas is still kicking. Yeah. I don't know how popular it is, but Chelsea got me a Maui Brewing I Am Project X collab shirt the other day, so I'll be rocking that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Which one? Brewery X?
Or I Am Project X. Okay. The like Disney t-shirts and stuff I have with Maui.
Got it.
Yeah, it's rad.
Nice. Another newcomer, 2012, Society.
good.
Yeah, I'm going to say classic now, but I mean, it feels like it's been here forever, which kind of has.
That's the one that I kind of discovered, not me discovering, but
You
for
were the
myself
first.
at one of the Stone events. I remember
Yeah.
leaving saying that's the best beer I think I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Like better than everything else at the Stone event. And it was Pupil.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm sure that's a play off of Pliny the Elder.
yeah.
This is the Pupil, right?
Yeah.
And then now they have, Society has the Apprentice.
Yep.
Which is like I think it was a hazy, I believe.
Maybe.
But yeah, just some sort of play off the Russian River. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Russian River, we went up there and we did the whole, you could order their entire flight of tasting. So it's like, I don't know, 29 or maybe that seems too many. But anyways, it's just a huge thing of a huge flight of all Russian Rivers beers. So those are pretty fun too. Ballast Point and Stone each opened multiple branded tasting rooms and brew pubs around San Diego and even in Orange County. Belgian Beaver 2012 brought a playful vibe with beers like Peanut Butter Milk Stout that drew crowds and dozens of other names. These are all like right within this time frame. North Park Beer Company, Fall Brewing, Mike Hess, Rip Current, Burning Beard, just to name a few. And I don't know how many
of
others.
those are left?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what we're saying. Like a lot.
Rip Current's gone.
Oh yeah, they did. So what's there now?
Now
Craft Ghost.
Draft Coast. Yeah.
Okay. And this is also the same time when San Diego started getting more recognition and beer awards and all that kind of stuff. So as the craft boom hit full stride, San Diego's reputation reached its zenith. The city became internationally known for its beer industry, media, and travel publications frequently crowned San Diego as a top beer destination. It was often said that San Diego is to beer what Napa Valley is to wine. Local brews kept racking up medals at the GABF, Great American Beer Fest and World Cup. 2014, for instance, Coronado Brewing won the World Beer Cup Championship Brewery, awarded as best mid-size brewery in the world.
Wow.
Pretty darn good, huh?
Yeah.
By the mid-2010s, San Diego wasn't just following the craft beer trend. In many ways, it was leading it. The San Diego-style IPA set up trends for IPAs nationwide, even giving rise to the ultra-hoppy offshoots like the triple IPA, popularized by local breweries. In short, San Diego has become a craft beer powerhouse. Big business arrives, so acquisitions. Obviously, we've seen a lot of those. Some game-changing events occurred that marked a new phase in the era of acquisitions. The most jaw-dropping was in late 2015 when Ballast Point was acquired by Constellation Brands, owner of Corona, Modelo, etc., for a staggering $1 billion. And I read, or I think it was on that same podcast, because some of the Black Plague brewer had some connection with these guys or something, and what they actually purchased it back for. I heard 100 million, but I heard it was even less. It was like 30 million or something like that.
It's crazy.
So quite the swing, but
Somebody
insane.
got fired.
Yeah. I don't know. They're just like, it's a write-off. They tried their foot in craft beer. Obviously, there's that craft beer, like when you're buying craft beer, when you're enjoying, when you have that community, you have, once it gets bought out, people are like, I don't know. It's,
Yeah. Move to another one.
yeah, I'll go to the next one that's right here. I'll go to my local brew pub and take, whatever's local.
Yeah.
So Sculpin obviously was one of their favorites, or one of their go-tos. Another San Diego brewery, St. Archer, founded in 2013, was snapped up by Miller Coors. That's what the Mikey guy was. He was part of that group, St. Archer. He was like part of their crew. So he was a skateboarder and then kind of teamed up with all
Makes
these
sense.
guys. So
Yeah.
they obviously had a big exit on that one. And St. Archer, we started seeing commercials for them. I think there was a Super Bowl commercial at some point.
Yeah. Oh, for the that light beer that they made. It
Yeah.
was like gold,
It
St.
was
Archer Gold or
yep.
something like that. And it was like a Coors Light knockoff.
Yep.
Yeah, everything looked like it was going to be golden. They put in the tasting room in Encinitas. Things seemed to be going well, and then it didn't.
No. Then it was done for.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But that group is brilliant because they've done
well, yeah,
over and over and over.
Yeah, now they have what's the Harland, but they also had a connection to
Ashland.
That was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the
Powerhouse.
If it works, do it again.
Yeah, he also did some like baby food thing that I think Johnson & Johnson bought off of him.
Not bad. He's a businessman. I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. But yeah, St. Archer, let's just say that one did not work out. They're nowhere to be found anymore. They didn't come back.
No.
And that was a cool brand too. That's just
rad.
like the vibe, they had their tasting room down in Leucadia here. That was pretty cool. But
Agreed.
Stone Brewing, for its part, publicly reaffirmed its independent stance during that time.
For a couple weeks.
For a little bit. Stone instead chose the path to expansion. It became one of the first craft breweries to open a facility in Europe, launching Stone Brewing Berlin. And then they had the other one, I think it was, here we go. They have one in closer to home, Stone Open Breweries in Napa and in Virginia. They were doing brewing out of Virginia. So they had obviously a ton of distribution and stuff out there. Other deals and shifts took place. Green Flash Brewing, after enjoying success with its West Coast IPA and acquisitions like Alpine Beer Company in 2014, attempting a big expansion, building a second brewery in Virginia, but overextended itself and had to pull back, closing the facility in 2018. Amid financial trouble, Green Flash ended up restructuring and is now under new ownership, showing that rapid growth could have downsides. Modern Time also expanded ambitiously up the coast, opening multiple tap rooms, all that kind of stuff. So amid the growth, culture evolved. Breweries started focusing on not just beer quality, but also experience. So taste rooms, family-friendly, dog-friendly, community hubs, food trucks, beer and food pairings, like at shut down as well. What was the one in San Marcos by the batting cages, or it had the batting cages, it had the axe throwing? I could see it right now. Wild Barrel. Dude, that was a good one. Bummed without that one. That was fantastic.
They had the donut tasting too.
Yeah.
That was like one of their gimmick things, because they had all the very sweet beers, and so donuts paired perfectly.
They had the best sours in the game. They were so good. So many different flavors. Some were like really sour. Some of their like strawberry tort was like a little more sweet, kind of like a pie kind of thing. Yeah, they were good. I went there. Josh brought me there for one of their tastings. It wasn't their grand opening, but it was like one of their tasting things. So like cheese and wine, or cheese and beer pairing. It was awesome. Unfortunately, they are no more. But San Diego homebrewers frequently won national championships. Many turned pro, fueling the continuous innovation. Styles diversified too. While hop bombs still reigned, San Diego breweries also delved into sour beers, barrel-aged stouts, crisp pilsners, hazy IPAs. The East Coast-born New England IPA style found a second home in San Diego by the late 2010s, with breweries like Pure Project and North Park Brew Co. mastering the juicy, hazy style. And now we could add Virgin onto that list as well. And Pure Project, they're murky IPAs, right? Yeah. Isn't that their thing?
Yep.
In 2018 or 19, San Diego had well over 150 craft brewing operations and economic impact exceeding $1 billion annually, and a national identity as a beer lover's Disneyland. There's your Disneyland tie back. So
I do like that.
Heading in 2020, the decade closed. San Diego craft beer community was proud and a bit pensive. They had achieved something incredible, transforming their city's identity, but also aware the sustainable growth was not just growth for growth's sake, but challenges ahead. Then came 2020. We all know what happened then. After decades of expansion, the community faced new challenges, from a global pandemic to market corrections, yet it continues to evolve with resilience and creativity. This chapter brings us to the present day, 2025, highlighting San Diego's beer pioneers and newcomers alike. So what are some of your favorite go-tos? Obviously Stone, back to the last buyout, I guess. Sale, Stone's Brewing in 2022. After staunchly remaining independent for 26 years, Stone surprised the world by agreeing to be acquired by Sapporo. That was the last one. And then Stone, or Modern Ballast Point, obviously got bought back. I wonder if it says the price in here. It does not. Modern Times sold to Maui. Green Flash continues to operate on a smaller scale. Interesting. Focusing on a core brands.
Sometimes. Yeah.
I did not know that. Current trends. San Diego brewers are, as ever, innovating. One notable trend is a bit of a return to a lager or lighter style, which we've seen a ton of. After years of IPA dominance, many breweries are dedicating taps to crispy pilsners, Mexican-style lagers, and easy drinking Kolsch ales. Of course, IPAs, especially the now ubiquitous hazy IPAs, are still king in sales, but the variety on tap is broader than ever. There's also a movement towards more locally sourced ingredients. Some breweries partner with local hop farmers in Temecula or even grow a few hops, and others use San Diego County grown barley or unique local fruit and specialty beers, barrel aged sour beers, wild ales pioneered by Lost Abbey and others, while newer sour focused breweries like Wild Barrel, unfortunately gone, and Burning Beard keep that flame alive. So let's talk a few of our favorite beers. What's our go-tos these days?
Virgin, anything Virgin
Yeah.
is go-to. That's obviously one that we love and we'll talk about, and you hear us talking about a lot, but Craft Coast is awesome. Their Agua Baja is one of my favorite beers on the planet.
Back to the Mexican style lagers.
Yeah. And I'd say those, what are the other, not Craft Coast, what was I going to say? I can't remember now, but those are kind of my go-tos, those two. And Coronado, I guess, is the other one. And we go to that Coronado restaurant quite a bit, and fun trying out their beers that they only have there. I still have a coaster in my truck for one that I tried last time. That was awesome. So I love Coronado.
IPA style?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a few that they don't can, and that's the only spot you can get them. And they're delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, we just went. So my brother's birthday was a few weekends back, so we went to Belching Beaver over in Vista.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not distributed, are they? Are you going to find cans?
Yeah.
I guess you'll find a few, yeah.
There's a mixed
They're
12
kinda
pack
core.
at Albertsons,
Yeah.
always.
Okay. But they had one there. It was like a chocolate vanilla swirl porter, I want to say, or stout.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I need to try that. And it was delicious. I loved it. So I used to love the coffee stouts and all that kind of stuff.
What are your
Now I'm off
thoughts
the
on
coffee.
the peanut butter one?
I'm okay with it. I think like a whole pint of it's a bit much.
Yeah.
Once you get maybe a half pint would be okay. But
Did you ever try the tortilla one at Craft Coast?
no, I did not.
I did like they literally put tortillas into when they were cooking.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Same thing. I wouldn't
It was
drink
interesting.
a pint, but I had a taster of it. And it was
Was it a stout or
no,
was
it was like a light beer. It
Okay.
was really light. So
It's an interesting take on it.
yeah.
Yeah, Craft Coast. I'm excited to check out that one in San Marcos. Blue Fire
Oh yeah.
over in San Marcos. That was the when we used to do this a lot. It was my beer of the year, actually.
Oh yeah.
They have their staple IPA, not the Sage. There's like the Sage one, which is kind of tasty, but it's like a little herby.
Mhm.
So they actually taste like sage, I believe. I think it's sage. Is California sage a thing? Like that's
Yeah.
it's got to be that then. Because you could smell it. It's in there, but it actually tastes like it. Like I was mentioning the jalapeno ones, you could smell it. It was a little flavorful there.
Or Mammoth
The
has the
habanero
juniper one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing. Or yeah, same kind of floral fragrance. So Blue Fire, awesome. Pure, always go to.
Oh yeah, pure is great. That's what I was trying to think of.
Can't go wrong with those.
Yeah.
And then Craft Coast, I think if I'm ever out and about, yes, we got our local tap rooms. We got BTR here, we got our local spots. But like driving anywhere, since we're all North County, it's like keeps gravitating towards Virgin.
Yeah.
Virgin.
Yeah.
I'm passing by Virgin. I could probably stop by there.
Yeah. I
don't do it as much as I need to, but
Yeah, we're doing a big Petco Pony Day for LCYO on Sunday, and I'm gonna go pick up a couple 4-packs for tailgating before the game. So
what's their
Virgin.
new fresh one? Do you know?
I can't remember what it's called, but it was rad looking. It was a take on. I can't remember now, but it looks delicious. And it's an IPA, double dry hop, which I still don't know what that means. But
So were you explaining that to me the other day?
no, I don't think so.
Somebody was.
Check
Oh,
out this
Eddie,
can.
my buddy Eddie was. He's
Here,
like,
let's see if I switch. Can you see the can? No, it
Oh, yeah.
doesn't go too far.
I could see it from here.
Yeah. But it's called Alive and Well Double Dry Hopped IPA,
Nice.
and it looks legit. So I'm gonna go get a couple 4-packs of that this week.
Right on. That's our beer for the week. And that's your history of beer right here in San Diego. So, like I said, we'll have our beer guru on and just talk like local, happenings, what's actually happening, what's going on right now in the beer scene. He always has some great insight into that. So,
He called the killing of the bombers, the 22-ounce bombers.
yeah.
He
I
knew
think
it.
he might have done
He
it.
might have done it himself.
Kind of upset about that, Noah. But anyways, we'll have some more fun episodes for you guys in the next few weeks. So as always, thanks for tuning in. If you guys want, if you know somebody who wants to hop on, hello at Livin in San Diego, or you have questions, hello at Livin, Livin in San Diego. You can hit us up. You can start rolling that music. Let it roll. And then I'll just keep talking over it. So, but yeah, we'll catch you guys all next week. We're still working to get, that really good story I'm talking about. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you all next week.
Welcome to the city built for leisure and play, 'cause we're living.